I think the first thing when I go back and watch the tape of the game was something I've been kind of leaning on since camp that is showing up. We got a really versatile football team, and that the idea that we can win games a lot of different ways, and the fact that we're not one-dimensional, that if that one thing doesn't work, what do you do next, whether that's offense, defense, special teams. And I thought this game definitely showed that. Our versatility, I thought, really shined through. I thought our culture shined through in this game too. I thought the togetherness of the team, the ability to keep their poise and composure showed up in one specific instance, but I think overall, I think the perseverance, the mental toughness, all those things we touched on after the game definitely showed up. And I think the things that we emphasized in the bye week showed up. I thought, obviously, red zone offense was critical, and I thought we executed well there. I thought our ability to create turnovers, we've been harping on it, and how big were those two turnovers, the Jalen Ford sack fumble, the interception by Taaffe in the end zone were big. So to win the turnover margin 2-0 after not had taken care of it great the week before was really big. And then our return game, just two massive kick returns by Keelan Robinson, and really well done by that unit, was big. And I thought we were close on a couple punt returns. So I think that aspect of the game is starting to grow and get better for us. So that was really positive. I think, from an injury standpoint, Quinn and Ethan Burke will both be week to week at this point. We never really know exactly how bodies respond to injury. And so we're just going to have to monitor these guys on a weekly basis. Obviously, we're going to do everything in our power to get both those guys back, sooner rather than later. So we'll see how that goes. And obviously, Catalon's kind of in that same breath. Okay, so those are the three guys there. Everybody else has been really good. But the point to all that is, just like moving forward in that game, guys had to step up. Malik had to come in that game. I thought he showed great poise and composure. I know it became kind of a running game right there, but to handle that situation on the road, I was really impressed with him. Obviously, Jade coming off the bench there in the second half, he stepped up. Savion Red stepped up in his role. Jamon Tapp had to step in when Ethan went down and Jet went down. So that's the beauty of this team. That's the beauty of having depth. That's the beauty of having the ability the next guy to step in and fill those shoes and to play good football. So that's a real positive for us there. I think one of the keys for us is that we get some of the issues fixed coming out of the game. And I think that, again, our coaches will do that. I think that's a credit to our players. In the team meeting this morning, in their position meetings, they were dialed in. They want to make sure that some of the issues that we had do get rectified so that we play better football. Nobody wants to play better than they do. And so I think that's a credit to them that they'll do that. And I think one of the keys for us in moving forward is keeping the focus on us. And, I've said this early on, and I mean this, and I said the same thing to the team. The opinions of others really don't matter. What we do does. And I think that's extremely important as we go on to this stretch here in the second half of the season, where every game is a Big 12 championship game. Our ability to stay focused on us and what we need to do to play good football, to keep stacking wins, is of the utmost importance. Opinions really don't matter. We control what we can control, and I think our players understand that. And so I was really proud of them. I want to thank Longhorn Nation for showing up in Houston. It was an awesome turnout Saturday. Seeing the burnt orange in the stands again on the road was huge. But we can't be more excited to come back home. We haven't been at home in about a month now. And we're playing a really good BYU football team, 5-2. Obviously, my alma mater. I know a lot of those coaches well. Kalani Sitake and I were teammates back in the day, and I can't believe he's in year 8 and he's doing a heck of a job. Aaron Roderick, their offensive coordinator, was a receiver of mine when I was there. So these guys are really good coaches. They've got really good schemes. They've got a veteran football team. And they play extremely hard. They're tough-nosed. They're hard-nosed. They play the game with a real mentality, real effort-first team. I think the ball is going to be critical Saturday. I think they've created 15 turnovers on defense, and I think if you just watch the Tech game, if you want to talk about the deciding factor in the game was their ability to create 5 turnovers and what it meant in that game. Definitely got a veteran quarterback in Slovis. Got a multitude of tight ends that they like to use. So, we got our work cut out for us, but looking forward to the opportunity to get back to DKR and play in front of our fans in a heck of a ball game.
Raise your hand if you have a question. Bring a mic to you right in the end here. Start with Ed.
Coach, what are the top 3 things that Malik brings to the offense as a starting quarterback in your mind?
Well, definitely Malik's a natural passer. When he throws the ball, he throws a very beautiful ball, and I think there's not a throw that he can't make. I think he's got really good leadership qualities. I think the guys, like playing with Malik, and that's a positive as a quarterback. Inevitably, as a quarterback, you're only as good as the guys around you, and those guys, when guys play good around you, that makes your job a lot easier, and I think that's extremely helpful. And I think the third piece is his understanding of what we're doing. He's got a great feel for the game. He's got a good feel for passing the ball. He can make all the throws, but I think he understands what we do and why we do, and that's another added bonus.
On your left, Thomas.
Coach, if Quinn can't go,
What's that?
Do we have that on? Did anybody get that on camera? Did anybody get that? Did you get that? Did you get that? Oh man, that's fantastic. Do you see, that happens to you guys too, just like it happens to me on game day. It can happen.
I'm telling you, that's a turnover right there. If Quinn can't go, is Malik going to start this weekend? And how would you rotate in Arch, if at all?
Yeah, no, we'll go through the week, and Arch and Malik will both get a ton of reps. If the game was being played today, Malik would start the game, and again, Arch will be ready to go. And like I said before, I've had a ton of confidence in Arch. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I mean, he had a fantastic practice. And so I'm really encouraged by that. I think Coach Milwie's done a great job with both those guys. And so we're fortunate. Not every school is as fortunate as we are to have the quarterback room that we have and the connectivity that room has. I think a lot can be said for Quinn and his leadership in that room. I think a lot can be said for Charles Wright and his experience and knowledge base of our scheme and the dialogue that those guys have in that room. I think they're always trying to lift each other up and help one another. So hopefully we can reap the benefits of that this week.
The middle, Bob.
What are some of the biggest challenges that a quarterback faces stepping into this with 2 guys that don't have experience in Arch and Malik in real game situation? What are some of the challenges they face as they would go into this situation?
Well, I mean, I think like anything, we prepare as best we can. We try to prepare our players for the multitude of things that can and or should happen and try to put them in the best position. But naturally, BYU is going to do things that aren't on tape, and you have to adapt at that point. And adapting, sometimes it's, when we can get them on the sidelines and adapt, much better. Sometimes you have to adapt in play, post-snap, right? The coverage is maybe different than they've been playing. The pressure is a little different. The matchups are different. And so that ability to adapt and not just rely on practice. As much as I love practice, and practice is huge, adaptability in game to some of the newness that comes at you, I think, is critical. And then 2, I think one thing that quarterbacks early on in their career, sometimes let the easy things be easy, right? And there's plenty of things that we do that are very quarterback friendly, and allowing those things to be easy for a young quarterback is critical, because there's going to be plenty of tough plays that they're going to have to make. And so I think that's probably 2 of the biggest challenges, right? Adaptability in game, and then 2, allowing the easy things to be easy are 2 big challenges for us as we go into the game to make sure those guys are ready for that.
On your left, Kirk.
This is the right way, right?
There you go.
Steve, you've obviously got a lot of injuries and concerns in the secondary. Jahdae Barron has played some cornerback. Do you consider putting him at cornerback? And why were those crossing routes so successful?
Yeah, I think probably 2 things. The versatility of Jahdae is one of his strengths, right? He's got such a high football IQ, and his ability to play multiple positions for us is fantastic. You know, when we can play him at star, I think that allows for his versatility to show up. We can play him in man coverage. We can play him in zone. He's really good on the perimeter, on a lot of the perimeter screens. His recognition of concepts that are coming, just like the fourth down play to get over the top when they were trying to pick him, I thought was big. His blitz ability. So all those things allows us to utilize his strengths, but he does have more than capabilities to play at corner and even safety for that matter. As the week goes on, we'll assess that. What's in our best interest for this game of what we need to do. Like I said, I think it was big for Jalen Gilbo to play as much as he did Saturday, especially that entirety of the first half. So we know what we have there and his experience from last year, and he feels really healthy, and that looks good. But we're going to have to monitor Gavin Holmes. We're going to have to monitor, Terrence Brooks got a little nicked up. I think we're more than hopeful that we'll get Ryan Watts back this week, which was big for us, and I think Manny Muhammad's coming. So it's all predicated on where's our issues and trying to put the best 5 out there that give us a chance and then rotate those other guys. The crossing routes, I think in twofold hurt us. Anytime you call crossers and you're in man coverage, it's difficult when they're picking the guy that's guarding the man that's catching the ball. And to their credit, they did a heck of a job picking us. They didn't get called for it, so you can't complain that's what was happening. But it's pretty obvious that when picks occur, and we got picked a couple times, and that created a problem. We had one where it was poor communication. We didn't cover it properly. And one we were in zone. And when you're in zone, that's when you really got to be able to shut those crossers down and match those routes. So I think there was levels to it. But inevitably, we're going to have to play it better because we're going to see a ton of crossers this week. That's one of the staples of what BYU does. So we're going to have to play it better.
On your right, Anwar.
Coach, back to the subject of kind of the in-game adjustments that you were talking about. You've said a couple of different times that teams have put something on the field that you hadn't seen on film. What's been the challenge as far as that adjustments are concerned? Are players not trusting the things that you're saying? Do you need to adjust a little bit faster? Give me a little bit more on that.
It's just a new defense. Every time we go out, I take it as a compliment that people want to go to a length of doing something that they haven't shown through 6 games and do something totally different, and that's okay. And that, like last week's game against Houston, that was from the first snap of the game. It wasn't like they went to it after we had 21 points. That was exactly what they did from the first snap of the game, and we executed good football and obviously got out to a 21-point lead. I think for all of us, we have to continue to respect the game and stay sharp on our details, whether that's the scheme, whether that's the execution, whether that's the situations within the game and playing those situations. So through it all, I think it was a good lesson learned. And there's nothing better than learning lessons after a win, because I think that's when you win ugly, you can coach hard and you can fix issues and then come out and play better the next week.
Stay on the right, Dennis.
Coach, how's Quinn doing just mentally, emotionally? Because that's a tough one. And the fact that he did so well with his downtime last year, came back, lit up OU, that sort of deal. Does he kind of have a blueprint of how to deal with this?
Well, I think obviously there's a level of disappointment. Nobody likes to get injured. And I give him a lot of credit because he tried to play. That last drive, he was not healthy. He tried to play through it. Clearly, he was limited, and to his credit, he knew, I don't think I can do it, And then when our trainers and our medical staff tell me the same thing, like he tried, he knew what he was going to be able to give to the team wasn't going to be good enough. But I do think I agree with you in that he does have a little bit of the blueprint, and he knows what it takes to keep himself mentally sharp. To be dialed into the game plan, to support the other guys and how they can lean into him and offering that support and being a great teammate for all of the guys. And so in the end, I know he's going to work tirelessly to try to get himself back. Like I said, these injuries, some guys are back sooner than others. You just don't know. And so we'll see how his body responds. I think it's helpful especially this time around. He's in the best shape of his life, and naturally, when you're in good shape, we respond better. We don't stay sick as long, we don't stay hurt as long, and he's in great shape, so hopefully we can get him back, like I said, sooner rather than later.
Over here on the left, Danny.
Steve, can you clarify when Quinn got hurt? Did he make things worse by trying to fight through it?
That's your guy's job. If I'm here to tell a guy when he got hurt, then that wouldn't be fair, right? I don't think he made anything worse. I think football, you get banged up, and a lot of guys play through a lot of things. And I think that's one of the beauties of our sport is that you find out about yourself. You have to dig deep in how much can I overcome? What's my level of perseverance? And I think he made some throws in there that he felt like, okay, I can do this, and then made a throw that really challenged him and said, I'm not going to be equipped enough to play the game the way I want to play throughout the ball game. So, I don't think that he injured himself any more than he could have. But in the end, when he got hurt, if he stayed in the game, he wasn't hurt enough to come out. When he came out, that was when it was time to come out.
On your right, Roger.
Sark, how does a Michael Taaffe bet on himself out of high school to get a scholarship and lead you guys in tackles as a top 10 team in a huge close ball game?
Yeah, awesome story. What a cool story for Taaffe. And we got a bunch of cool stories going right now, but his is a great one. Just a guy who believed in himself, had an opportunity to accept scholarships at other schools, decided to walk on here at the University of Texas, and from day one, never took a back seat. From day one, when we were in summer workouts, he wanted to be in the front of the line. From day one, when every opportunity he got to step in and be here as a true freshman and get on the grass, he found a way to make a play. He got an interception. He got a tip ball. And in turn, he just continues to work at it, and he knows, like anything, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? I'm going to play to my strengths. And he's extremely smart. He's tough. He's a great teammate. So he tackled well, got a big-time interception. But what gets lost in a lot of this is how good he played on special teams Saturday. Makes a tremendous tackle on the punt return where Keaton comes down, the returner spins out, or Keelan's cut down, he spins out. Keaton misses him, Mo misses him, and Taaffe comes from across the field and negates a huge return with a heck of a tackle. So it's not just defense. He's doing it on special teams as well, and it's a great story, and hopefully it serves as motivation for a lot of other guys on our team of, when you put your mind to something and you focus on something, you start to gravitate towards it, and definitely in his career that's happened.
Over here on your left, Cedric.
Hey, Steve, you're matching wits with your old teammate, an old defensive coordinator. I know he made a change, bringing in Jay Hill. But what are some of the philosophies you see in a Sataki defense?
Yeah, no, I think, Jay and Kalani go back to Utah days. And so that's kind of a, if you think about Kyle Whittingham and those great defenses that they've had at Utah over the years, and Kalani and Jay were there for a lot of those years. It's a very aggressive style, very attacking, attack the line of scrimmage. Defensive line is penetrating. They're trying to get into the backfield. I think they have a lot of confidence in their players and in their scheme. They do a good job on first down, second down of mixing things up, and on third down, how can they get to the quarterback? But in the end, they're ball conscious, and you see the turnovers and when they come and why they come. I think their players are really aware the coverages that they're playing, and I think that goes back to coaching. Those guys are good coaches. They've been doing it a long time. Got a ton of respect for them.
On the right, Terry.
Coach, you had mentioned you and Coach Taki played teammates, and you played under famed coach Dr. Edwards, and he also produced great teams and quarterbacks. Are there any principles that you learned under his leadership that you still use today to coach and develop your quarterbacks?
Well, I think one thing that Coach Edwards, I have one specific story that I always hold on to. I remember we were in a game, and it was right near the end of the first half, and it was a timeout, and there was some discussion on what play to call. And there was dialogue with Coach Chow, our offensive coordinator, and Roger French, our O-line coach, of what we were going to do. And nobody could really agree. And I'll never forget Coach Edwards looking at me and said, "Sark, what do you want to run?" and I referenced a play that I wanted to run, and he turned around and he said, okay, we're running the play I just referenced. And so I think one thing that he did a great job of in my time there was making you feel like the coach believed in you, that there was rapport there as the quarterback, that I was his guy, and that he believed in what I was able to do. And I think that that's something we've tried to do here, is that when you become the guy at quarterback, there's a sense of belief in that guy. And that's why there's that constant dialogue to try to put them in the best position that they feel comfortable with to go execute. I think the second thing about Coach Edwards that I'll always keep with me is he always kept things light. He was himself. I know everybody sees the stern face on the sidelines from back in the day, but he was a really lighthearted guy. He was a lot of fun to be around. The players liked to be around him, and I think that goes back to having really good relationships with your players, and that was something that he had when I was there as well.
The play work?
Man, yes, it did. Yes, it did. Do you think I'd say it didn't? No.
Steve, I know you wanted to, get your corners up on the line and play, physical man coverage. There's been a lot of off coverage. Has that been because of the injuries or the situations in, different games? What can you talk about?
No, I mean, it just varies. Calls, sometimes it's the call, sometimes it's the technique, sometimes the formation causes some adjustments. And so those are some of the things for us schematically as a staff to sort through, that people can't force us into some of the softer coverage looks because of formations or motions that we're getting. And so that's the constant evolution throughout a season of making those adjustments to put our players in the best position to be successful, And to their credit last week, I thought one thing they did when they saw us trying to get up there and get physical, they went to some of those crossing routes and we were getting picked. And so now you have to try to protect yourself to not get picked. And I think and it showed up on that fourth down play where Jade didn't stay tight to the line because he recognized what was probably coming and went over the top to not get picked. So we could say that was softer coverage, but then he was still able to make the play. So even though sometimes we're not pressed, we can still play an aggressive style, and I think that that's something that we're trying to work through.
In the middle, Eric.
Steve, just want to piggyback off of an earlier question. When you were with Washington, you had to start Siler Miles and Nick Montana, both guys making their first starts later in the year with a lot to play for in the season. What's the approach when, kind of going with the young guys making his first start, and you see any similarities between, obviously a decade ago and now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think in the end is we got to take our time as a coaching staff, which we started on yesterday. What are the things that Malik does well? What are the things that Arch does well? It's not always about the idea of the play and putting it on a whiteboard, because there's a lot of plays that look good, but what do they do well? And then how do we ensure, okay, here's the concepts that we think they run really well. They don't have to run the whole playbook. They need to run what they run really well. And then how do we devise a plan that incorporates what they do well with the personnel, formation, motion shifts, run game to tie it all together? And so that's kind of how you do it, I think it's important that they get confidence early is always helpful, but you never know how a game's going to go. These guys are elite competitors. I'm not concerned about them, fighting through when adversity strikes, but I do want to make sure that I'm giving them the opportunity to do the things that they've shown us that they're good at and that they like, because Saturday is going to be a test enough. It doesn't need to be a final exam as far as, let's test them on things that they might know or might not know. I want to test them on the stuff that I know they know really well. I hope they get 100%. This is an open book test. I hope they play great.
Got time for two last ones. Start with Jeff.
And my question is actually along those same lines. Do you sit down with Malik and Arch and have a conversation about what do you like to do most? What are you most comfortable with? Is that an ongoing conversation that you've had with all your quarterbacks for weeks? How does that process go?
No, that's a weekly dialogue. So with us, when we put together a game plan, there's constant dialogue throughout the week with the quarterbacks and how we're reading it and how we want to do it. And then we try to devise the reps in practice so that guys are getting reps of specific plays and things. And then on Friday night, every Friday night before every game, myself, Coach Mill, we sit with all the quarterbacks and we walk through the call sheet and we'll ask them their favorite plays in this situation, that situation. And so we kind of have a running log of the plays that they mark that they like, right? And so, 7 weeks into the season, I've got 7 straight weeks of information from Malik of the plays that he feels comfortable with. And so now as we start to devise a plan, I don't always necessarily have to wait till Friday to ask him what he wants, because the majority of the things that are in this plan, I already know he feels really comfortable with.
Last one, Ross?
Yeah. How pervasive is sign stealing in college football, and do you account for that in your own planning?
Yeah, signal stealing is real. It is a definite factor in college football. I think some teams rely on it much more than others, and so you do have to devise it. That's why we got boards and signalers and different colored shirts on the sidelines and every which way of how we try to get the play to our players to be fair to them. I mean, nobody wants to run a play when they know what play's coming. It's like going to bat and trying to throw your best pitch and the batter knows what's coming. He's got a better chance of hitting it. So we try to hide it as best we can to give our players the best chance to be successful.